Hey guys, so this is a quick walkthrough and review of the Burpee self-watering seed starting system. I got the 32XL size and I basically ordered it online and it was delivered straight to my door. Inside the package, you're gonna see pretty straightforward instructions. I found the pictures pretty helpful, and to be honest, I didn't read it very closely. So this is what it comes with. Basically, you have the two stands, which will be at the bottom, and then the two trays will go on top. Each of the cells have cocoa tablets, which we'll be rehydrating to use as our growing medium. Nothing was missing, everything came in one piece, so that was pretty straightforward. And you can see it's 32 cells total, and it's split into two different trays in one giant larger tray. And then beneath we have the wicking mat and then also some labels if you want to identify what plants you're planting. This makes it pretty easy for you to keep track of it. And then moving on, we have what looks like sort of your 1020 tray and also a clear plastic cover if you want to create a more humid environment for your seed starting. So now let's set this up. Basically, I'm putting the stands on the bottom. And quick note, you definitely want to put this in a place where you plan to not move it. Next, you add the wicking mat. You fold in the edges to make sure it's able to touch the water on the bottom. And then you put the trays on top. Now I'm filling it up with some warm water, and then I'm simply just adding it to each one of the cells and waiting for the tablets to rehydrate. I would say this took about 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't find it very tricky to do. You don't get enough cocoa core to completely fill the cells. I would say it goes up maybe 2/3 of the way. A lot of the reviews I read online had trouble, I guess, rehydrating or filling up any of the cells from the cocoa core given. And so I would say that's probably one of the negatives I'll bring up. So here I am simply breaking up the cocoa core, making sure it's nice and loose so that little seedlings can develop their roots. I didn't find it very tricky to do, so now I'm just transplanting individual plants and putting them into these larger cells so that they have more space to grow. So a little bit more about the actual growing medium. It is made from the husks of coconuts and processed in a way such that it resembles dirt, but it is much more sanitary, much more moisture absorbing, but also devoid of nutrients. So the cell trays that we're provided with have really large holes at the bottom. I tried adding some other trays that I had, which have smaller holes, and they don't do as good of a job at absorbing water. I'm not sure if they worked, but I was afraid of leaving my plants on for much longer if, they weren't actually going to be fed with water. So I'll be growing various kales in these self-watering trays. I had started the seeds about a week ago just so that they'd be large enough to prick and plant into various cells. And this is what they look like after 2 weeks of growing and 1 week on the self-watering tray. So everything looks super healthy. Didn't have any cases of damping off at this point. The true leaves are coming out, and I was pretty happy with the results. And now we have 4 weeks of growth, or 3 weeks on the self-watering tray. At this point, I probably only refilled the tray twice, and everything seems to be working as expected. So now for transplanting, basically you push your finger through the hole at the bottom of the tray, and for the most part I found that everything came out pretty easily, no issues there. Positives here are it's all in one, it's easy to set up, self-waters as intended, and I really like using coco coir personally as a seed starting medium just because it's so loose and it's easy for roots to form. You could definitely reuse this tray though and possibly explore other different types of growing mediums. So here are the negatives. Mixed results on the core amounts. For me personally, I thought the coco coir at about 2/3. It's enough to grow something, but normally when you get a large cell, you really want all the space in the cell and not just part of it. So I wish they had more core. I would also say the material is pretty flimsy, but also consistent with all the other trays that are available at your Home Depot or your Walmart. Finally, depending on where you live and the humidity levels, you might see some moss forming at the top of your little cells. This is due to the fact that the wicking mat plus the highly absorbent coco coir really keeps the soil very moist. And so that could be further exacerbated by humid environment. And another point to consider too is what does your plant like? And so greens like lettuces and kales do really well in high moisture, wet soils. On the other hand, there are plants that don't like wet soils. And so that's something to keep in mind when selecting your growing medium and also this self-watering tray. So overall, would I recommend this item? Yes, because it ultimately does self-water the seedlings. I bought this item just because I was worried about seed starting while I was out of town or away from home and unable to constantly check on these seedlings. And so this really came in handy when I was gone for a week. I might actually buy a second tray just to make my life a bit easier. It does come in different sizes, so this was the largest cell, but you can get smaller cells. I think they have a 72 cell count for the same size tray. So feel free to drop any questions in the comments and I can do my best to answer them.